Hey, from time to time people ask me how I make these little pictures that I make, and so I thought I would walk you through doing one. I'm going to do something really simple, just to kind of give you a sense of what goes on, and I'm going to do a very simple studio setup and just kind of build it up from the ground up. Usually it takes, hopefully I can do this in maybe 10 minutes or so. Usually I spend several hours doing this and tweaking it and whatnot, but I'm going to use a lot of presets and well, you'll see. I'm just going to try to do this as quick as I can while still giving you a sense of kind of what goes on. And so I'm going to create a sort of studio setup with a backdrop. And so I'm just going to start by making a new primitive, which is going to be a plane. I'm going to make a nice small one, 1 meter by 1 meter. I can scale it afterwards anyway, and there it is. You can see it on the ground. So let me lift it up a little bit some so you can get a sense of where it is in 3 space. And I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to not rotate it. I'm going to send it into the back. Okay, so it's going to be back there behind my character to be in front of that, and I'm sure I'm going to want it bigger than that to kind of cover them. So you can see it's kind of going through the ground now. And so let me pick it up a little bit so it's sort of sitting on the ground. So you see how it kind of is bouncing on the ground. I'll have it a little bit behind. So right now it's just plain white, which is fine. Let me switch to the top view and pull the camera out, and it's actually going to be hard to see that beastie while I'm pulled out and looking at the top because it's just a plane, it's razor thin. So let me switch to a wireframe view, which will help a little bit. There, okay, and you could already get sort of a sense of where it was. But now I have it selected, and I'm going to just duplicate that. And so now I have 2 of them. I'll put that one over here. See, I'm sliding it over. And let me just pull up my rotation tool, and I'm going to turn it about 45 degrees. It doesn't really matter exactly. And I'm going to maybe move this a little bit so it's sort of in front of the background like that. And I want yet another one of these, so I'm going to duplicate this one again, and I'm going to slide this over here and spin it like this. Okay, so now I have another one, not quite at 45 degrees, but that's okay, close enough for government work. Okay, and I'm going to put this one right here too. Now, this one is going to be the backdrop that we're going to be looking at, and these ones are going to be the lights. And so basically I have these big panels that I'm going to turn into lights, and I have 3 planes. Okay, and so there's this one here, and let me kind of position this a little bit together. So you see there's actually a good bit of futzing about here. Now I'm being a little anal already, and it's not even 10 o'clock. Okay, so there. All right, so that's kind of my setup. So now I need to make 2 of those emissive. So what I'm going to do is pull up my emissive presets, and so there we go. So and I'm going to look at the surfaces for those, pick this plane, and I'm going to mark it emissive. Okay, so now it's got a bunch of, if you just noticed, a bunch of material things just changed. So I want this to be a cold light, so I'm going to change the emission temperature to be 10,000 degrees. And this luminance in candles per square meter, that's actually a very small amount of luminance. So let me add a couple zeros. That's probably pretty close. Okay, and rather than, actually I could have done that before I duplicated it, but to save myself a little effort, at least I'm going to copy that surface. And I'm going to pick this plane. See how they have brilliant names like plane, plane 2, plane 3. Okay, I'll make that one emissive too, but then I'm just going to paste the settings. And there we go. Okay, so if we look at this one, we should find that it has all the same settings. Dum-a-dum. And maybe not. Let's try that one more time. First I make it emit. There we go. So what's going on there is you see that actually all the available settings changed. Okay, and there we go. All the available settings changed when I set it to an emissive material because it was using a completely different shader for that material to accomplish that. So pasting from one kind of shader to a non-compatible shader does a whole lot of nothing, so I needed to make them all be the same. Okay, so let me change back to my perspective view, and now I've got this thing here right in front of me, and I don't want that to be emissive. I'm going to want some sort of a background there, so I'm going to take the base color for this in the diffuse channel, and I'm going to just go to a bunch of stock backgrounds that I have, and I'm going to pick something. I have lots of backgrounds for various occasions. It doesn't really matter what I pick today. I don't know, whatever turns me on. How about this one? Okay, it's very pink. Okay, and I'm going to switch back to texture shaded so you can see it. Okay, now I'm going to want that to sort of fill up the whole screen. But depending on where the model goes, I'm going to move the camera so it doesn't matter too much. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So I've got something set up. I've got two lights. And so let's put a person in the scene. So to do that, let me get rid of this filter. I'm going to switch to here. And always does that. Okay, and let me pick from my list of figures. I have lots of preset figures. So let's pick, oh, I don't know. Let's pick, well, see there's many different choices for preset figures with different skin types and so forth. Let's pick this one. Okay. So I'm going to add Victoria to the scene, and she's going to come with a default skin and a default pose, and that's pretty much how she looks when you first pop her in the scene. At least it comes with a standard skin, so I don't have to completely skin her, although I could reskin her. If you click to materials, you can see there's lots of choices for already changing stuff. So right here I could say, well, you know what, I actually want her to have blue eyes, and while I've got her selected, I can make her eyes blue, and I can make sure that I'm using the eye ray materials, and, well, that was exciting. So apparently I don't have all the eye ray materials. Yeah, we're missing some materials. That's exciting. Oh, I know what's going on. I have the wrong person selected. Okay, so here I am trying to set the materials on the background, and again, if they don't match, we result in badness. So let's go eyes, blue, there we go. One of the things I don't like about this program is when you add a new something to the scene, it doesn't get the selection automatically, which I don't know, because it has its ups and downs. Okay, and so we have nice high-res materials and all that stuff. So her skin actually should look pretty interesting, and just for grins, let's do a preview. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. Okay, so that's looking not very exciting just yet. So let me go back to the regular view. Just the OpenGL preview was actually more accurate than that iRay preview. And hopefully we'll take care of that shortly, but at least for now. And now I'm stuck waiting. Okay, let's go back to here, texture shaded. Still waiting for Vincini. Yeah, so lots of frustrations using this tool from time to time, especially when I go off the beaten path. I was trying to do an iRay render in the preview port, which I don't usually do, and with the hopes that you would actually see it, but instead we just got a big delay for no special good reason. Okay, so to give you a sense of how much detail she has, let me just turn on wireframe. Okay, so that's a lot of polygons, and you know, you can get a real sense of what she looks like. In fact, I'm going to want to save this camera position, so I'm just going to make a new camera starting from where I am now. This is a thing that I often do. So I cloned the perspective view with this camera, and so now I can use the perspective view as a scratch view for just sort of looking around the model without having to worry about moving my actual camera around. So she's got a lot of details. And if I go and look at the different parameters I have available for her, let me just pick her base. Okay, there's lots, like, look at all this stuff we can do. Okay, like, holy mackerel, just, you know, there was pages and pages of stuff. There's also lots of body presets. Those body presets correspond to the other actors that I could have loaded. finger size. I mean, this goes on and on. Ear shape, brows, forehead, cheeks, chin, jaw, more chin, more jaw, eyelashes, eyes. Oh my God, it just goes on and on. So I can do piles of things to the overall body shape. Um, you know, so pretty much whatever I want to do. Let me pick something that is very obvious. Um, I'm gonna do say bodybuilder. There. Okay, so I'm gonna just bulk her up. Okay, so now do you see lots of things happen with that one dial? Many of the dials are connected to lots of different parts, and sometimes you can go to particular limbs and adjust those too. And so you could get disproportionate things, or you could just bulk up some of the muscles, or you get the idea. You can do this all day long. So there, I mean, already she's looking just ridiculously buff compared to how she was before, and you can kind of get a sense of what she looks like. So the next thing I will typically do is pick some hair. So let me just go back to here. Now the nice thing about smart content is whatever I have selected, it will try to give me things that are only compatible with that figure, because I have lots of hairs for different kinds of models, some of which can be changed easily, some of which can't. So how about I pick this one? It's kind of cute. Uh, and we'll just do that one. Great. Okay, so now she's got a little bit of hair. That looks pretty exciting. And then typically what I'll do is look for a pose. So I'm going to look for some preset poses. There's lots of preset poses. So how about, she's a bodybuilder, so what if I put her in some bodybuilder-ish kind of position like that? Okay, great. So that's cool. Now, of course, I could pick any of her joints. Like I can go pick this arm, look at the parameters, and I can see kind of what the angles are. Okay, see how much bend and twist there is. So I can move each of these things all on my own. And so usually what I'll do is I'll find a stock pose that's kind of close to what I want, and then I'll tweak it. And if there is no stock pose that's close to what I want, or if the stock poses look sucky, then I can literally move every muscle, and there's a lot of them. I mean, look at how many parts there are, and each one of these has multiple angles, and there's I mean, this is the only parts of the joints. And then there's as many dials just for expression. But okay, fair enough. So let's see if we can put some clothing on her. That's sort of the next thing to do. So I'm going to pick wardrobe from this tab, and let's find something bodybuilder-esque. I don't know. How about, I guess I could just use a bikini. Bikinis are easy. Let's pick something a little more exciting than a bikini. I must have something that I kind of like for this. Uh, Here, how about this? The monokini at least. Okay, so immediately it was put on this character, and the tool automatically adjusts its morphs so that they match according to what the character does. Depending on the quality of the underlying model and the quality of the clothing, that may or may not work out really well. And if you have lots of layers of clothing, then the clothing can bump into each other, and if the clothing is complex and has protrusions and other kinds of stuff like that, it can be quite painful, because under those circumstances, the pieces of clothing will stick through each other, and while you get some help with resolving those collisions, you don't necessarily get a ton of help. So, okay, at this point I have kind of what I want. Let me go to my official camera view, and let's say I'm just going to try to focus on her top. So I'm going to pick the camera here, and I'm going to change the focal length of the camera, and I'm going to move the camera up a little bit like so. Yeah, a little bit like so. And maybe angle it up a little bit more. Okay, so now we're pretty close to what I was looking for. Maybe I can move in a little closer, maybe move a little up a little more. So you see how what I'm trying to do is pick an angle that kind of captures enough of the background so the background's filling the screen, because I don't want to see gaps. I haven't populated this scene with lots and lots of objects. If I was doing a natural environment, I would also have to place maybe dozens of trees and grass and other kinds of stuff. I can use presets for some environments, but frequently the environment isn't quite what I want. So I'll start with something like an environment and then start putting pieces parts where I want additional pieces parts. So This is kind of okay, but you see how, like, I don't like the way her hand is obscuring her mouth there in this stock pose. So let me just make a simple change. I'm going to go to Victoria's root node there, pick the parameters, and I'm just going to rotate her a little bit. So there we go. Okay, so I've just tipped her a little bit, and I think maybe if I adjust the camera a little bit more like this, I'll get a more pleasing angle. Now, of course, I've messed up the background, so in order to adjust for that, I'm going to just scale that background a little bit more because I don't want to futz with the background too much, and it's just filler anyway. Great, okay, so now my background is back to kind of how I want it. Now, I've got two lights shining on her from the side, which is great, but that's not going to give me all the lighting that I want. I'm also going to want some light coming right at her from where the camera is. So I'm going to go to this camera thing, and I'm going to create a new spotlight. And that spotlight, you're probably not seeing this dialog, but I'm getting a new spotlight dialog, and I'm copying the transforms for the camera. And I'm going to parent that spotlight to the camera so it'll continue to track. If I move the camera, the spotlight will stay right on it. And you can see, actually, let me show you switching to the spotlight view. That's the spotlight, and that's where it's shining light on the scene. So why don't I make it so that I'm not overlighting quite so much. I'll go to the lights tab and maybe change the spread angle a bit. There, so now the spotlight is maybe more focused on my exact character there. And maybe I can even pull in a little bit more. In fact, for interest, I'm going to move the spotlight up just a little bit, so the hottest spot is going to be on the front of her, you know, and on her face. So this is just fill lighting, and that'll help a bit. I think I want to have another spotlight, maybe shining on her head to give a little bit of glow there. And so, but let me get a look at how that's probably going to look. So let me switch back to the camera. Okay, so at this point, what you were seeing before was even lighting across the whole scene. If there's no lights in the scene, you get the so-called headlamp off the camera. That helps you, and once you have an actual light in the scene, then you get that light instead of whatever the headlight is connected to the camera. I've sort of created effectively my own headlight lamp for the camera, but I have much more control over this particular light. So let me see if I have any hope of going to my render settings and setting up iRay for interactive. I'm just going to do this. Okay, there we go. And so now I've got my GPUs helping me to do this. Let's see how this goes. Okay, that was really very unspectacular. Okay, so I'm sure that's not what it's really going to look like. So I guess I'm just not going to be able to demonstrate that very well. I have to wait for it to come back again. It would be nice to show the renders, but I can only video capture one window at a time with this tool, and the render window is going to pop up elsewhere. So, and right now I'm just waiting. Okay. So I'm doing a test render, which you're probably not seeing. But that'll tell me what I need to do, and then I'll post the test render separately afterwards. And I have to wait a little bit for the first bits of the frame to pop up. Usually it takes about 30 seconds before I see anything at all from the render. And then it starts to fill up. This particular render won't take very long to do, maybe 10 minutes total to render, but I won't wait here. Okay, so I'm looking at it. I suspect you are not looking at it. I can see the background, I can see some fill, that looks pretty good. I can see some shine from my side lights, which I'm pretty happy about. So that's revealing some musculature, which is great because that's really what I'm looking for if I'm taking a picture of a bodybuilder. So looking at this, it seems to me that my background is far too bright, and not enough light is falling on the side of her face to give me a sense of kind of what's going on there. So I'm going to try to fix those two things, and I'm obviously not going to wait for the render to finish. So let me just dim the background a little bit. The easiest way to do that is to go and select the background surface, which I'll do like this, and then switch back to the Surfaces tab, and in diffuse color, actually one thing I'm going to do is just get rid of all the specularity. That'll help. And maybe in this diffuse color I'm going to drop it a little bit, and I'm going to take the existing spotlight and duplicate it, which is a good way to take care of business. And now on the duplicate spotlight, I'm going to put my focus on that spotlight, so I'm now sort of looking through that spotlight, and I'm going to move it. See how I first tilted it, and now I'm going to reposition it so that it's lighting here. And this spotlight I'm going to put very close, so it's going to light just her face. One of the great things about synthetic spotlights is that they're invisible, so I can have all the spotlights. I can stand anywhere in the scene and I don't have to worry about them getting lost. But having brought it so close, I'm definitely going to want to make it less intense. So I'm going to look at that luminosity here, and I'm going to maybe reduce it to 500 instead of 1500. And I'm also going to want to make the flesh tone pop a little bit more, so I'm going to take this front fill light and make it a warmer light. I'll set that to about 1500 temperature. That's like the temperature of a campfire. And switching back to the camera, you don't really see much difference here. You can see a little bit of extra light here. You certainly can't see that background looking very different with this view. If I turned on headlamp or made another duplicate camera for looking, in fact, maybe if I go to perspective, yeah, I still have the same problem with perspective. I can make another camera that doesn't, that has the headlamp forced on for exploring on the site, but that's pretty good. So I'm going to stop the video here. I'll post the result of this, which will take about 10 minutes to do. And because the point of this wasn't to go through the whole exercise of building, a complete full model. Already looking this, I can see a variety of things I'm going to want to fix. Like the way this is arm positioned here isn't very natural, so I'd want to work on this joint and try to make that a little bit better. And maybe there's some muscularity here I can do, and maybe this joint doesn't look especially great either, so there's probably some tweaks I can make on this arm to kind of fill it out and give it a better shape. So when you see this render, you'll see with if you apply scrutiny that there's lots more that needs to be done to it. But those are the basic steps. I made a set, made some lights, set up some materials, put some clothing, and then I proceed to start, tweaking everything until I like it. I can spend a long time just doing work with, positioning cameras and making sure things are sitting right. A lot of times I'll just sit around, looking at other angles for good possibilities, and, getting a sense of like what views really show her off. And of course I'll often spend a lot of time just, working on the model's expressions, which I didn't do at all here. She has a very neutral expression, but, maybe I would perturb her face to make her look fierce, maybe narrow the eyes some. I can also typically modify the hair in various different ways, so I can make it look like it's windy, like it's unkempt. I can style it in assorted different kinds of ways. Lots of different stuff. Anyway, that's probably enough for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll post the final version of this picture. Well, final, it's just a little study, which will be based on that view, along with this video, and hope you enjoy.